Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Scanner Monkey Television Hour. Tonight, Cordelia, will be your host, and we have Cynthia Stine, our amazing guest, and we'll be talking about how to avoid getting banned from Amazon as a seller. This is a show from the Scanner Monkey group, scannermonkey.com, blah, blah, blah. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in live, and this will also be available as a YouTube replay, which we'll post the link tomorrow by 5 p.m. Hello, Cynthia. How are you?
Hi. Hello, everybody.
Thank you for joining us tonight. Now, for those of you who are new to Zoom, if you hover your mouse in the upper right-hand corner, you can click, there's a button that'll either say Speaker View or Gallery View. And you will want to click on the one that says Gallery View. And then you can also go down to the bottom and you'll see the chat button, and that opens up a separate chat window. Now, for those of you who are watching the replay, unfortunately there's no chat. So we will try to read questions out loud that we are going to discuss. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in live. So Cynthia is the author of the book, How to Make Thousands a Week and Thousands a Year in 10 hours a week.
No.
Get the name of your book messed up.
It's because the title is too long. It's Make Thousands on Amazon in 10 hours a week. And it's how I took $200 and turned it into $40,000 in sales my first year. So that's kind of, I wrote that, obviously a few years ago, just telling people how I got started on Amazon and why and all that stuff. So that's my Amazon creds.
Yeah, and I loved your book. Actually, I've told this story before, but your book is really what got me started. Because what I love about your book is it's very specific. It's like, get this printer, do this. It's so, for those of you in the audience who just love Cynthia and want to support her, if you're already successfully sending stuff in and kind of know the routine, you don't need this book. This is a great book if you have friends who are thinking about starting on Amazon and they're like, how do I do this? I'm going to come to your house and you can spend hours of your time showing me every little thing. Then you can say, here is Cynthia's book, or go buy Cynthia's book. She already did all that.
Yeah.
And she also goes around to cities and does shops with people. You can go with her to Target or another store and learn how to do retail arbitrage, which I did one of those, and that was really cool and very educational. So that is Cynthia. And then she started this new service, and it has sort of, fortunately and unfortunately, sort of exploded, right?
Right. Well, much more than I expected. My pre-Amazon background is that I was a business consultant. So I've been a consultant for over 25 years. And so I started consulting on Amazon as well for people, just basic business questions, whatever. And I want to say maybe it was October, right around that time frame, I started, my clients started having troubles and getting suspended. And so I would help them get reinstated. And I have one client who I call the recidivist, who I've gotten reinstated 4 times.
Oh my gosh.
But I learned a lot through that experience. And then what happened to me was that there was just a lot of it coming up all of a sudden. Like, whereas I went for years and never dealt with a suspension, all of a sudden I was getting them all the time. And so in February, I started sort of an official service to help people get reinstated. But what I really like to do is to help people not need my service. That's my goal, is that I don't want people to need me. I don't want them getting suspended for crazy reasons. And so I think there's 2 things that happened last October-ish. One is, a lot of you may have noticed they changed their feedback system so you could get your feedback removed. There's this automated system, and the first few days of that system, if you knew about it, it was kind of broken, and so you could get everything removed.
Oh, I remember that.
And I did.
That was sweet.
That was sweet. And since then, they've kind of fixed it, and now it's kind of algorithm based, and sometimes it goes to a person to review and all this stuff. But for a few days there, a day or two, you could do no wrong. You could just send it in, and everything got removed. So me and Cordelia and a few other people shot right up to 100,
Yeah.
and and then I was like, well, that's really cool. But I think what was also happening at the same time is that some other automated systems were going into place. And so a lot of them are kind of the reason why people are getting suspended now. And I call getting caught by the Amazon robots, because when a lot of people get suspended, they it's kind of keyword based, it's algorithm based. They might get one warning, but they don't know it's a warning. And so and then the thing is, they think that there's somebody actually looking, but they're not. And so this is really, and that's why some of my earliest clients were really large sellers. Guys who've been doing this for 10 years, who were doing multi-million dollars a year, and they were just shocked, right? And it wasn't because they were doing anything different or anything particularly wrong, but they were getting caught by the robots. And so part of what I wanted to tell people about, since we were talking about feedback earlier, is one of the things they look at is when somebody leaves you negative feedback, they have a choice. They can say, did it arrive on time? Yes, that's pretty easy. Was the product as you expected? Okay, so a lot of people will say no. If the product didn't arrive on time, if it was damaged in shipping, if they're just unhappy for some reason, they'll say no there. And the thing is, Amazon looks at that and they say, oh my God, the product was not as expected. It could be counterfeit. It could be, it could be faulty product. It could be anything. And so what happens is that I don't know what the number is, but there is some trigger, some percentage, some number that when they see that, they get you and you get a warning. And they'll say, we've gotten word that your products are not matching the listings. And you're like, well, what does that mean? And they might even give you a few ASINs, but I will tell you right now, they're not giving you all the ASINs. Okay, they'll just give you a few. And there's usually a lot more going on, but that happens to be what triggered the robots. And then once the robots are triggered, they go looking for other things, and they might find them. So this is why people will get a warning, and then maybe a week later they're suspended. Like, there's not a lot of time.
Wow.
And the reason why isn't because they've suddenly become horrible sellers overnight. It's just because, again, they've got something, and I'm sure it's not a human, going through and looking at all of these and saying, oh, wait a minute, they got 10 people who said the product didn't match the description. They have this, they have that. And then the other thing that started happening last October, which some of you might remember, is what I call the rise of the evil seller. And I had real problems with it. Yes, the rise of the evil seller. And I had some real problems with that. Well, and a lot of people had their own evil seller problems. And but somewhere in there, the sellers learned that if they wanted to get someone off their listing, the easiest way, there are several ways. One is to file a policy violation. They can buy your product, your competitor can, and then they can file a policy violation saying, look, I bought this product and it's fake. And Amazon is like, oh, well, let's stop everything and figure this out. Except they don't figure it out, right? They leave it to you to work the problem. And so, I had one client who had a persistent evil competitor where my client had to literally go to Houston, Jay, and meet him face to face. And, my presumption was he threatened him, but he didn't really say.
Something happened.
happened, and the guy backed down, okay? And he wrote a letter to Amazon saying that everything was all resolved now. But my client has friends, big Goomba friends. So anyway, so I was like, okay, don't tell me. But he got the letter, and so that's what I'm saying. There's like a trend. And so all of this is kind of coming together for the perfect storm. And it's getting all kinds of people suspended. And I will say that maybe a third of my clients are UK. So it's not just in the US, the robots are everywhere. And I would say, counterfeit is definitely a big one. And then not matching the listing is a huge one. And we can talk about that in more detail because it's absurd. Let's just put it that way.
And it's, if somebody changes the listing, you could not match it and not even realize. Like
Exactly.
You might have matched it when you sent it in, and then it's sitting there, and the listing changes.
Yeah, I mean, I just had this happen a couple weeks ago with a diaper bag. When I sent it in, and when my fellow seller sent it in, it was a red Mickey diaper bag. When the picture was gray, okay, but when my customer went to buy it, it was red, and I didn't know that because while Amazon will tell you about ASIN changes, they don't tell you when the picture changes. And this was one of those cases where it was one of those assortments. I bought mine, I don't know, discount stores, but there's like 10 different bags. They all have the same UPC code. So whoever had the red bag got it changed, and they were able to prove that it was the correct UPC code. So of course the minions said, okay, we should change that sucker. And then all of us with our gray Mickey bags got in trouble.
I saw those at Big Lots, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I got them cheaper than Big Lots, but but it didn't matter because
right.
I had to recall all of them, and I had to create a new listing. And then my customer who had bought from me, and I handled her, and I said, "Oh, I'm really sorry." Da, da. So she went and bought another diaper bag, and she bought it from someone else, but she thought she bought it from me. So she complained to me. I said, "You couldn't have bought that one from me. I recalled all of mine the minute you contacted me." She's like, "Oh, you're right. I ordered it from someone else." She said, "So somebody else had the gray bags up there." I'm like, "Mm-hmm." And we all did until the red bag guy came along. So that's a problem. And one of the things I've resolved to do for me is when I buy something that I know is an assortment, I am automatically going to create a UPC code in my own listing. I am not going to use their UPC code because it's just not worth it.
Could you have fought that one? I mean, I guess you could have sent in a picture with your UPC code and your gray bag and said, "No, this is it." But it's like, would that have been worth it?
No. And that's a great question, Sherry. But I will tell you, you have to pick your battles. And I guess the more that I see, the less I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go balls to the wall for a diaper bag where I only have, 8 units. It would be one thing. Like my client who really went crazy, and I'm not crazy, but let's just say he really went for it. That product he was selling was worth $1 million a year to him. Yes,
right.
He was going to fight to the death for that. And I mean that almost literally. So for him, it was worth it. But for me, it's not. It's just easier to take, oh, I'm seeing what Sherry says. Yeah, I mean, Sherry, you're right. I know I could have fought back, but it just seemed pointless. It was easier just to create a new listing and send them back in, which I did. I'm looking at Christina's too. When the UPC code is the same, but the manufacturer changes the packaging. Okay, well, then you need to have a picture up there with your package as well with the UPC code. And Amazon does allow that. So, yeah, but I'm telling you.
It's a problem with those assortments because, that wasn't, the red seller, for lack of a better term, wasn't really doing anything wrong, right? I mean, that wasn't a case of them willfully. They were like, "No, this is the right color." And so what could have happened is you could have been like, "No, this is the right color." And then the listing would have gone back and forth and nobody would have been able to list on it. So I think that, doing your own listing, that makes sense. I mean, there's certain times you get stuff from, you could even have done a bundle maybe, and then you just know for sure what's in it.
Well, and I'm going to answer Molly's question about, when another seller changes the listing and she gets noticed. Yeah, you do for ASIN changes.
Yeah.
You don't for photos. So, because I went back and I looked, and I never get changes that are photos. And the photos can really get you in trouble. But anyway, I mean, this is a matter of perspective. I mean, Sherry would have fought it. I don't, because it's just not worth it to me. It was easy enough to make a new listing. But here's what I want to tell you. You get enough of these little problems, or you get something like this, and it's the tipping point, and you're out of there. Okay, so they are suspending people for stuff like this, and that's what's nuts. You know, and you can say, oh, you know, you can fight that. You can fight that when you're not suspended. When you're suspended, all you can do is appeal. And they're not going to listen to you very closely, and they don't understand nuance or business the way that you do. And whoever is reviewing your appeal, if they're actually reading it, which they will the first time you submit it, a human will read it, not a robot, but it doesn't mean that they really know what you're talking about. So I've had clients who had more complicated cases. They tried to explain, and I'm like, okay, that was your problem. You tried to explain. Don't explain that much. You really just need to tell them what you're going to do differently. That's what they've been told to look for. That's what they're looking for. So a lot of my clients who got banned, their appeals, their first appeals, the problem was they were like trying to explain, and they thought Amazon would be reasonable and see things their way, and they don't. You know, I had one person who threw themselves on Amazon's mercy, crying, telling them this was their livelihood, and I was like, oh, this is just painful. This is painful to read, because I know that I know why they banned her. You know what I'm saying? It was just terrible. So what I want to, you know, kind of do on this, I want to be positive in this call, right, because most of the people who are listening now are not banned, thank God, and hopefully they will never be banned, and they will never need me, which would be a success on my part. And so I just want to talk about kind of the ways that, you know, so I'm just looking at my little notes here, some of the ways that you can kind of keep on top of things so that you don't get in trouble.
So it sounds like one of the first things is if you start getting warnings, you need to pay attention to the warnings.
Warnings and violations are both problems.
Right.
And so they'll usually send you one before they shut you down, but you won't realize what it is. Oh, and to answer Mark's question, an ASIN change is not a warning. That's just an ASIN change. So we get those all the time. A warning is when they say to you, you know, your product doesn't match the description and you need to fix that. Or, you know, we've had a complaint about this particular ASIN being counterfeit. And then, you know, and they might even say, please send in your receipts that show where you bought this. That's your first and last warning. And even though they're talking about, and this is where the people make the mistake, is they'll talk about whatever product it is, maybe it's a DVD, and they're not telling you that there may be dozens more that have the same problem. And they expect you to go find them and fix them. And when you don't, because you don't realize that there's dozens more that have the same problem, then they shut you down. And I'll tell you what I mean by this.
So what do you mean by the same problem? So,
yeah, so the problem, like they may say to you, okay, your product doesn't match the description.
Okay. So that's essentially a picture issue, most likely, or it could be a multi-pack issue.
It could be anything. It doesn't even have to be that. It doesn't. A lot of times it's not obvious. Like the person will say, "What are you talking about? You know, here's the picture. Here's my product. I don't get what they're talking about." And it can be really subtle. One client I had, it was a sticker. The one in the picture had a sticker that his didn't have. Another case, it was I have a client right now who put a sticker on all his products to help the customer. They was explaining something that he thought would be helpful. It was just helpful advice. But he made two mistakes. One, he put a sticker on his product. You can't do that. And two, it had his email address on it. If you have any trouble, call me or email me and I'll help you out. Well, we all know that that's wrong. But I'm telling you, so many people don't get that that's wrong. They're thinking they're being a good, you know, seller.
Right.
So he had thousands of items that he had to have returned to remove that sticker. And And, but I mean, it took me a while to find out what was going on because he's like, no, my product's exactly the same, exactly the same, exactly the same. So I said to him, so if you took a picture of your product and I compared it, what would be different between that picture and your product? I just really I had to figure it out. And the thing is, they gave him a warning about one or two products, but it was almost his entire inventory.
It's kind of like those kids, you know, that kids thing where you have two photographs or two paintings and you have to see what the differences between the two images are. It's kind of like that. One of the things that was just said in the chat that I wanted to bring up is gone already. Let me see what it was. Never mind. Keep going. So
we'll come back. We'll find it.
It was about Goodwill. It was about finding something. If you bought something from Goodwill, can you prove that it's? You can't.
So that's another problem that my clients are discovering. So they're buying things at discount stores. They're buying things from dealers. They're buying things off of eBay, and Amazon does not accept those items as legit. So they may be perfectly legit, but you know, I had one client who bought a lot of DVDs from a liquidator, and I couldn't save their bacon. So
that's one reason why when I first started selling like a year and a half ago, a little more than that now, there was a news story about a guy who I think was in media, like maybe DVDs and videos, and got his whole account suspended because of being accused of being counterfeit. So at that point, I decided no more media. So I don't ever do DVDs. I mean, that was my response, was just to stay away from that, because especially if you're getting it at Goodwill or wherever you get it discount, you really don't know. Even that one from Target, I mean, somebody could have bought the real one, returned a fake. I mean, you just don't know. And so that was my response, was I don't do any DVDs. So I don't do any VHS. I don't do any CDs, none of it.
Right, and that brings up a good question. You know, the categories where a lot of my clients are having trouble, definitely DVDs is high on the list. Electronics is definitely a problem. Makeup, health and beauty is a real problem.
Really?
So, you know, and I think, well, how do you prove or disprove counterfeit makeup? But it's really tricky. And so
do you feel like commingling has an impact?
No, because here's the thing. If Amazon suspects that it's you or somebody has I mean, they might do like they did with the frozen stuff, right? They'll just shut everything down until they figure it out. But they're going to expect every single person who's selling that product to prove that they're not selling counterfeit. And so several of my clients, the problems they have is they can't prove it, or the receipts are not acceptable, or you know, whatever it is. And, you know, we're trying to make a case to Amazon that, you know, these are legit products and we'll never do it again. And
now, can you, I think it was when I was applying for something, now I can't remember when it was, but at some point I had to submit a bunch of receipts proving where I bought stuff. And there were some items on the list that I couldn't find the receipts for. So I just had, and there was only one that I was still selling. The other ones were stuff that I wasn't selling anymore. So I just deleted the listings. Can you do that if they say, like, can you prove that this eyeshadow is really L'Oreal? And you can't. If you delete that listing and just dispose of it or have it recalled to you and just never touch it again, will that fix it, or does that really not matter?
That will fix it if you're not already suspended. So if it's a warning, you know, you can just simply say, well, you know what, I'm just not going to sell it anymore. I've removed it or had it destroyed or whatever. I am out of the L'Oreal eyeshadow business. Yeah, usually when you're just been warned, you know, that's okay. The problem is if they see more issues that they think are the same problem. Remember I told you, one of the first things I tell people, if you get any kind of warning or policy violation, you know, deal with it, of course. Don't ignore it. I can't believe how many people ignored those. And then I'm like, but they would suspend you.
And that's what happened last year. John Grollo was very open about his suspension, and that's actually what happened to him. He was just like on vacation, and
he was busy, and he gets a lot of
some
stuff.
of it was, stuff that it was like an ingredient and stuff, so he didn't even know which stuff had that ingredient in it, and he just kind of got busy, which certainly happens to me like every day. There's 20 million things I don't get done that day that I want to get done. So it's easy to just ignore it.
Right. Well, so that's the first thing people can do to keep themselves out of trouble is not ignore it and just say, okay, if I get that, I'm going to look at it. Just like I learned the hard way that I have to really pay attention to ASIN changes. And then the other thing is, when you get a warning, think of it as being the tip of the iceberg. So it happens to be what they're talking to you about, but they could be going through your account looking for all kinds of trouble. And they also could be looking for other examples of this problem. And so when you go back to them and say, hey, I hear you, man, okay, I'm not going to do that again, it would be really helpful if you said, oh, and by the way, we're not going to sell these 10 other ASINs either, because we felt like it was, might be the same issue, and we don't want to deal with it, so, I'm not going to do it. And that helps, because otherwise you could get suspended because they feel like you didn't take their warning seriously, and you weren't being responsive. So that's definitely one thing to think about to stay out of trouble. It's just to really look. And I want to give another example. There was a classic example. It was in one of the groups like last night. But anyway, there's like 10 listings for the same product, but they're all slightly different. Their pictures are slightly different. But frankly, we all know that when you take the box off, when you get it home, it's the same damn product.
Right.
And so Amazon is really contradictory about this, because first they want you to have everyone list under the same listing. Like they don't want to have 30 listings like eBay, right?
Right.
But on the other hand, they'll beat you to death if yours is slightly different. And what I noticed with a lot of these guys who are doing like private label, they'll private label just crappy Chinese products where they've added no value to it whatsoever, except maybe they took a better picture or they stuck a little sticker or something really minor on it. And then they'll defend that thing to the death, right? So if you list on it, they'll say, oh, that can't be a Cynthia Stine, XYZ, because only Cynthia Stine can sell a Cynthia Stine XYZ, and we know we didn't sell it to this person. And then that person gets suspended. And yet they're trying to do the right thing, which is they're trying to put their product under the right listing.
Kelly suggests you start your own line of Steins.
Oh, yeah.
So you could have a Cynthia Stein.
That was very funny, Kelly. I like that.
But only authentic Steins can be sold by Cynthia. I can't sell a Stein.
No, because one thing, you're not me, and
Blake Stein.
And you're from Atlanta. Mine, of course, would have cowboy boots on it because I'm from Texas.
And it would be bigger because it's from Texas.
That's right.
Yeehaw. Okay, so back to business. Trying to lighten the mood here a little bit. It's a very serious topic.
It is.
So you get your warning about whatever it is, whether it's the product doesn't match the description, and you basically need to pick through your listings with a fine-tooth comb to make sure every single listing, the product and the description and the photo are all a match, and you either fix it or remove it if it's not.
Right. Because here's the thing. Let's pretend it's a competitor who's after you. So they're going to take a picture of your product. They're going to send it to Amazon, and they're going to say, this guy is selling a fake or a knockoff, or he's not an authorized seller. I see that a lot. And so you really need to make sure that your product matches. And it's just like my client it took a while for him to get that having a sticker on your product meant it was different. And
it's also, it's hard sometimes if you buy, like I've bought, especially with clothing, it's sometimes it's really hard because not like one kind of clothing that I sell, like the people that created the listing that weren't me, they didn't put, like maybe your clothing has a bunch of keywords in it, like, super dry, extra strong, whatever, right? They didn't put those words in the title. So I'm actually having to look at the picture and look at the words they did put in and try to figure out if it's the same thing. Because I know it's the same brand and it looks really similar. And I'm looking at the, the fabric composition to see if the fabric's the same. You kind of have to be like a detective because you don't want to, what you said before, you don't want to just be creating new listings for stuff that's already in the catalog. Plus, if that listing has a decent rank, you want to take advantage of that if you can, if you're doing the right thing. So it can be tough. Now, what about color warnings? It seems to be lately they've been very on the color warnings. Does that ever lead to suspension?
Oh, you mean like where your color is different?
They keep asking, I know somebody else, Mark mentioned this too, they keep flagging listings and saying, what's the color, I can't think of the word right now, color mask, I don't know. But anyway, but it's hard if you have a product that's 2 colors or not really a color or whatever to put in there. It seems like a lot of my listings has gotten flagged. Does that ever lead, have you had any issues with that?
I haven't had anyone get suspended for that. It has sometimes come up as one of the many things they want you to fix. Because that's the thing. Once you get started, looking for things to fix, one of the things I do when I go and do a reinstatement with someone is I go through and I read all of their customer feedback for a long time. And I mean the emails, not just the negative feedback. I mean like the, hey, it was damaged in shipping, or, just the regular emails. So I read all of those. I read, because I'm looking for how many people said the product didn't match. And I also read, of course, the negative feedback. I read the performance evaluate, the performance notices from Amazon. And I started to get a pretty good picture of what's going on. And a lot of times what happens is you can kind of see, okay, this is the big one. This is why they got suspended. But then you've got these little babies down here, other little things that they've been dinged for. And so you want to show when you're getting reinstated that you're addressing everything, right? We're on it. We got the message. And so what happens is a lot of times, it can take a while before we send in the appeal because my clients are busy fixing all their listings, removing things, taking off stickers, recategorizing things. Like I had one client who didn't understand, and I think I call this the eBay mentality. He said, oh, my product is exactly the same except I don't have the game controller in it. I said, well, then it's not exactly the same. It was some Xbox thingy, or I don't know, it was something.
Right.
I said, you can't do that. And he said, but it's brand new. I said, great. So create a new listing that says, I'm selling this, but without the game controller. And he said, well, if I do that, then nobody will buy it. I said, well, let me explain to you what you're doing wrong. Okay, because that was a kind of a shady comment. But I just people don't understand.
Here. Molly wants to know if you take, like, let's say you're creating a multi-pack or a bundle and you take a picture from another listing and use it in yours, does that ever flag a problem?
Absolutely. In fact, one of the biggest problems you'll get if you do that, is especially because they know who makes the listing, right? So if they know you created that listing, they're coming after you if that is not what you're actually selling. But the other thing is a lot of times
But if it is what you're selling, you should be fine, right?
Maybe.
Like if I create a bundle with XYZ, 3 kinds of candy in it, and I get the candy images from different listings and put them together into one bundle.
Here's the problem.
Okay.
It can be a problem. There's a problem. You're not supposed to use it if it's a copyrighted picture, right? So here's what's happening. A lot of manufacturers are coming down on people for using their images without their permission. And so what happens is you get that letter from the lawyer, and it basically says you've infringed our copyright. Now I have a number of people I'm helping with copyright issues too. And some of them are able to get around it by proving to the lawyer that they have the right and all this stuff. But most of them have done things like you're talking about, where they basically just quote unquote stolen the image, and so even though they put it together in a new way, it's still you've infringed on the copyright. And so what you have to do is take down the picture and create a new picture. You have to go take your own damn picture and put it up there, even though it looks really the same. So and the problem with that is that when it comes down to copyright infringement, Amazon is not going to take sides. They're not going to decide in your favor. What they're going to do is say, talk to the lawyer, you work it out with him. And if you can work it out with the lawyer, fine, you can sell on that. Otherwise, you have to get out of Dodge. Okay, so I see there's been some questions about Jay's hand.
Yeah, I lost track a little of the Molly's following up. If you're on a listing that somebody else created and they've done copyright infringement when they created the listing, can you get in trouble for that?
They won't suspend you, but what will happen is you'll get a notice saying that the attorneys have called, and you, along with everybody else on that listing or who's ever been on that listing, will this basically be told that they have to do something about it. But the listing is suspended. You're not allowed to sell on it.
Okay. I've had that happen before where listings have been suspended and then you fix it and then it's fine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the big key is that if you get any kind of warning, you really need to not just look at the fix the thing that you're getting warned about.
Right.
And then if it's the type of thing that could apply to other listings in your inventory, make sure that you check that the problem isn't more universal.
Right, because we're creatures of habit, so we kind of tend to do the same things over again. So to use your example of, hey, I got the picture off the internet, for example. Well, you probably did that more than once. I'm guessing you may have done that for, dozens of images, perhaps. And so you're always taking the risk with those that the rights owner could come back and say, hey, you can't do that. And so usually the right thing to do is to create your own pictures. That's the right thing to do.
I will say that a lot of people say that, and I would beg to differ a little bit because typically when I wholesale from companies, they are happy to provide me with photography, or when I buy direct from a company, they want to give me photography.
But that's different.
I had one wholesaler say to me, please use our photography because it's good and we want our brand to be well represented, and we've had people create listings where they use terrible pictures that they took and we hate that. So
but why is that different, Cordelia? That's different because you have the permission of the rights holder to use it. So if Amazon ever came back to you and said, hey, like all of a sudden there's a lawyer, you can say, wait a minute, my wholesaler gave me this picture and here's a letter from him that says that I am an authorized seller and they gave me the picture. And then Amazon's like, okay. But usually you're not going to get in trouble for those because the rights holder isn't going to come after you because they know they gave you permission. You see what I'm saying? They're happy that they're using your picture. That is really what happens with some other rights holders who haven't given permission. And so they know when they see something up on Amazon that somebody stole it.
All right, so let's see here. What would you say is the biggest mistake? So if people get their first warning or whatever, what's kind of the first downfall?
Well, obviously not paying attention is the first downfall. And then not responding fast enough is the next one. And then not really understanding what Amazon wants from them is probably the third one. And I will say another way that people get in trouble a lot is, especially the merchant fulfilled, is performance metrics. And I have seen some really bad performance metrics. And what happens is it can happen really fast. Like if you have a faulty product or you just have a bad day delivering or whatever it is, you can get boom, 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 several bad reviews in a row. You can get some A to Z claims. I mean, it can go to hell really fast, like in a day or two. And so that's happened to a couple of clients of mine where literally they were fine and 2 days later they were suspended and then banned because they jumped on the gun and turned in their appeal too fast. And that would be another mistake I would say is if you're going to file your own appeal, you should have someone else look at it. And I'm not saying it has to be me. I'm saying anyone else who's not you, because really, people are upset when this happens. They're defensive. They're bewildered. They're all of these things. And so it shows up in the letter. You know, I see a lot of letters that I can tell were written by angry, panicked, sad people, you know. And so if somebody else can look at it with a, you know, a less emotional eye, they can probably help you kind of just stick to the basics, stick to the point, just really help make sure that letter is really clean. And I will tell you, the other thing is, you know, again, the person who's going to be reading it is likely to be someone in the Philippines. That's been my experience. And their sense of how they do business is very different. Their, you know, stuff like that. And so they just may not understand things the way we do. And so I just try to say, really keep it simple. English is not their first language, although most of them speak it very well. And, you know, if they were captains of industry, they wouldn't be working for Amazon. So just trying to explain to them something that may just be over their head. I mean, I'll give you an example. I mean, I have a client who was trying to explain a rather complicated international arrangement that he had with a company to sell their product. And I mean, it was freaking complicated. I'm like, there's no way on earth I'm going to make this easy enough for someone to follow that rabbit trail. It's just not going to happen. I can't follow it, you know?
Right.
I'm like sitting there thinking, good grief. And so, you know, I have to keep kind of simplifying it. Let's get down to the point, you know? And I'll tell you, the point is, too, a lot of people turn in their plans of actions, and they basically say, I'll never do it again. Well, that's nice. It's just about as effective as your kid saying that to you, right? Again. And so Amazon is like, oh, that's all very well and good, but what they want to see is a plan. So they want to see steps that you're going to take to fix the problem, and real concrete steps. And so just saying I'm sorry or it won't happen again, well, how do they know? But they do know if you have a plan. And I'll even tell you, I had some clients, we turned in a plan, they got the email back that said, call us or contact us when you've implemented your plan, right? They're like, crap, we have to do this plan. I said, yes. I tell all my clients, of course we have to do this plan. If you want to exercise and how well Cynthia can write creatively, you have to do it. All of these plans have to actually get done.
So can you give me an example of some of the types of items that might be in a plan?
Yes. So usually if you have well, let's say it doesn't match the product listing. Mm-hmm. Usually I try to figure out what their particular slant on that was, and then we explain how we're going to stop that from happening again. You know, or to use your example earlier, let's say you had copyright infringement, you could say, I will get permission from the manufacturer before I do that again. Or you got to just show them that you understand what you did wrong and you're not going to do it again. I usually do mine kind of in steps, because I'm a step-by-step girl. So I go step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, mm-hmm. And I address each of the issues, you know, one at a time from order of importance. And you know, with things like feedback, I mean, just to give an example with feedback, a lot of people get in trouble they have a lot of negative feedback. And so some of my clients didn't even know that they could get their feedback removed.
Right.
They didn't even know that.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I tell them, okay, well, we're going to, from now on, we're going to try and get it removed. We're going to respond faster. We're going to do this. You know, we have a whole list of things we're going to do. Sometimes I have my clients get Feedback Genius because it texts you every time you have a negative feedback. Right. So you can jump on it right away. That is the single #1 selling point of that product. I like it for a lot of reasons, but that's from my client's perspective, that's the one. And for my client that I'm fixing his feedback for him, the text comes to my phone, I have a heart attack multiple times a day. And they're all his. I'm like, what? Feedback? No, you know, and they're all, oh,
it's just my clients.
Yeah, okay. I'm paranoid. I tell you, I'm really I'm like anal about feedback.
Well, you also, you had some issues because you were attacked.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but that's one thing. You just can't let that go, right? You have to really stay on top of feedback. But also just, some other, so sometimes I bring in tools. Sometimes it's a process. Sometimes I tell them they have to hire someone to do this for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was one client who was not responding to his customers within that 24-hour window. And he's a small guy, you know, it was just him. I mean, his business was actually pretty big, but it was just him. And I'm like, you have to hire someone, and they have to check it twice a day. I'm going to say that in the plan, but you have to go do it, like, right now. So,
Right. Like, you're going to hang up, and then you're going to go do that.
yeah. You know, I don't care how you do it. So, you know, with some of these guys, I've got them set up with VAs and things like that, whatever works. But, you know, when I tell them you need to check your email from your customers twice a day, and that's what we're going to tell Amazon you're going to do, then they have to do it. That's what I mean by concrete steps. So those are things that Amazon can measure. And so that's why I think performance metric issues are probably the easiest to fix, and the ones, because you can put a plan in place and Amazon can see that you're doing it.
Right.
Things like the counterfeit, the doesn't match the description, or evil sellers, those are harder. It's harder for them to really measure the difference. You know, I had one client who had to go and talk to all of his competitors who he suspected of doing this, you know, and make arrangements with them, because they were just going to keep doing it. And I've also, and for the same client, we also told Amazon that they were doing that. So they will help sometimes. But you know what? We could not do that till the guy was not banned. You have to do a lot of that work while you're still in good shape, because once you're banned, they don't listen to you.
Right.
Once you're banned, there's a lot of things you can't do on the platform. And so that's why I tell people, you know, when your account's in good shape is the best time to do an account review and to fix any problems you have, because then it's easy to fix, and Amazon will listen, and those helpful little guys in the Philippines are cheerfully going to help you figure out how to fix your pictures and do this and do that. They'll do it just fine when you're not banned.
Okay, so that would be a big tip, is to try to resolve everything before you get banned.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Molly has a question. Deanna too. Okay, Deanna's question is, should you keep track of all those fixes? Yes, absolutely you should. Because you may need to go back later and remind them that you did all those things. They can see it on their platform when you make a change, but you should be able, yes, I think you should keep track of everything you do like that, so that if they're ever get in trouble, you can say, but wait, you know, I did these 10 things. And then, oh wait, there was another, shoot, I just missed it. Why do you think they don't listen to you? This is from Molly. Well, they don't listen to you because they don't have to listen to you anymore, Molly. Once you're banned, you get the letter that says, we're not going to read any more of your emails. You're banned, and don't try to set up another account. So, you know, I have several email addresses that I use. I have several things that we try. And sometimes you get a response. Sometimes you get them reinstated. A lot of times you'll get an autoresponder. It's the robots again. And it's the same letter over and over again. Go away. You're banned. We're not going to listen to you. And you'll get it in like 15 seconds. I mean, you'll send your nice, carefully worded plan of action. And boom. And then my client panics. And I said, don't panic. Nobody's read it yet. And so my job, when I work with them, is to get it read. So anyway, that's the thing. They don't have to listen to you anymore once you're banned, and they don't. But that doesn't mean that there's no hope at all. It's just harder. That's why I tell people I would really, really love it if my clients would come to me before they filed their appeal. But they all come to me after they've been banned. It's tough.
Okay, so that would be the next thing, is if you think that there's a chance you might get banned, would be to seek help from a professional, whether it's Cynthia or someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Although I don't know of anyone else who's doing it right now, but you said it sometimes takes weeks or months to get reinstated. Why is that?
Okay, so that's usually after you've been banned. And remember, most of my clients...
I'm sorry, hold on one second. Glenn, no. Just no. Glenn's question is, if you've been banned, can you have your spouse create an account?
No.
No, because it's the same IP address, and they know that like if your uncle does it, like they have things that figure out connections between people. So no.
No. Yeah, that's the short answer to that question. Is no. And that's why it takes weeks or months, though, because sometimes you really have to keep sending it around, keep trying to get someone to respond to it. Also, though, sometimes my clients really have to make changes in their business before we can really go back to Amazon and make the appeal. There's no point in making the appeal saying we're going to do all these things once you're banned. What you want to go back and say is we've done all these things. We've done it. We're not just talking about it. You can, when you're suspended, you can say we're going to do all these things. When you're banned, you have to have done something. Otherwise, why should they even talk to you?
So what if you, then we're getting into the dark zone, the dark side here. If none of it works, what are your thoughts on
Sherry,
of buying a good account, or getting a new MAC address and a new IP address and kind of gaming the system?
Well, it's definitely the wave of the future, I think. I think there's some strategies like that make sense. Now, the VPN and all this stuff, Richard's talking about the way to get around the technology. They're harder than you think. Okay, I will say that I know one gentleman who he did do all of this stuff. It took him 5 tries before Amazon didn't catch him. The concept of buying, a business, maybe somebody's leaving the business, but they have a perfectly good account. I think that's the wave of the future. I think that's what we're going to see a lot more of, because that's actually legal. There's nothing that says you can't buy businesses or things like that. There are things like that, but I don't know how it would work. I don't explore that, because I know technically to open up another account, well, that's the thing, to open up another account is in violation of Amazon policy. But if you're not actually opening an account, if you're just, sitting in on somebody else's, anyway, that's the dark side stuff, and that's the last resort. What I really would prefer to do is try to get people back on their own account. And here's the other thing, too. If somebody's been banned, there is usually a pretty good reason for it. So if they're going to go and open up some other account, or do it on another business, then what's the chance that they're going to succeed where they failed now? So that's to get back to your question, is why does it take so long sometimes for a reinstatement or appeal? It's because part of that time I'm putting my clients to work. I'm trying to get them to fix things, do things that will actually make their business better, so that Amazon will want them and they will see that they were sincere. So some people got in trouble because they had bad business practices. I don't think those people should be given another bite at the apple. Right. Not until they can fix it.
Yeah. So sometimes people get banned because they're quote unquote innocent and they just need a little guidance. And sometimes people get banned because they're doing stuff really wrong, and they need to, and it, especially like when you get into copyright and counterfeit and stuff like that. I mean, that is a big business change. I heard one webinar I was on for some people. It was a free webinar. They're trying to upsell me to their big expensive course, and I was just kind of curious about it. And they were talking about how they sold all these counterfeit items on Amazon, and that's how they got their big start. And I was like, I am not paying for your course. I am not interested. I don't even want to hear you talk for another 5. If you're, that's a thing that you're like bragging about, and you're thinking that was a great thing, instead of, that's not a thing that I want to have anything to do with. So, but there are people who that's what they do.
Well, I'll tell you
you can literally go on Aliexpress. I've done it. And you can find like a thing from Target that's like a Batman thing. You can find that exact Batman thing. It looks exactly the same on Aliexpress.
Yeah, there's a lot of knockoffs.
It's very tempting, but don't do it.
Right. Well, and that's why they're really cracking down on counterfeit stuff a lot. And they're not very forgiving. You have to really be able to prove that you got it from a legit source. The other thing that I've seen out there that makes me sad is people who use drop shippers. And, before I get all the drop shippers mad at me, the problem with drop shipping is you're relying on someone else to deliver your product. And if they fail, you fail. And also, if their product isn't legit, you're screwed. And so I've had to have, remember I told you sometimes my clients have to actually change how they do business.
Right.
So I've had several of them basically swear to Amazon that they were never going to drop ship again. Because I said, it's either that or you're out of there. And, Amazon won't tell you you can't drop ship because they can't tell you that. You can run your business however you like. But what they can tell you is if your performance metrics go down the tube, they don't have to take you back.
Right.
So, so when I find out that someone has bad performance metrics and they drop ship, I'm like, you got to stop that right now. But also think about that. You don't even know if, unless you're buying direct from the manufacturer, you don't even know that the product is legit. And then the manufacturer is not in the business of speedy delivery and customer service. They're used to delivering truckloads of stuff to showrooms, not one refrigerator to your client. And so we get a lot of problems with that too. But anyway, what makes me mad is, you've got the guys out there with the big programs saying, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. You don't have to own the product. You can just make the money. You're the middleman. It's awesome. There's no risk. And I'm like, are you kidding me? That's highly risky. And so anyway, and the same thing with people who do arbitrage on other platforms, buy from eBay, sell on Amazon, buy from Etsy, sell on Amazon. Again, if it's not, that may be fine for a collectible game or a book. There's not very many fake books out there. But it is a problem if you're selling DVDs, electronics, toys, apparel, handbags, toothbrushes. I've seen it all. Makeup, baby formula. Can you imagine that all those things would be counterfeit? And that, so that's one thing I would say. I know we're always trying to find really great sources of inventory, and we, even Amazon to Amazon flips can be a problem, although I am getting that one fixed. For one of my clients, where she literally bought from Amazon and resold, making sure counterfeit. She's like, but I bought from you. So we're getting that one fixed. That'll be okay. But again, in her case, that one was okay, but they had a whole bunch of others that they were worried about. And so that was just one of several that are on their list.
So, sorry, I totally lost my train of thought here. We have a very active chat tonight.
I know.
I don't want to get sucked into the counterfeit conversation because that's sort of like a whole other topic.
Yeah.
So what are some other things that you can do to keep your account healthy and to stay on Amazon's good side?
Well, like I said, I think the best things are to, there are counterfeit toothbrushes, Sandy. Is to keep track of your, is really take care of your customer, take care of your metrics, and respond to everything that you see. That's really it. It sounds simple, but when I look at the people that I'm talking to over and over and over again, they have failed in those areas, and it may be because they're really super busy or whatever. I would say things like poor record keeping are really a problem. Sometimes we're blowing and going, and then like I have this one person who's taken over a week now to get me some receipts that I need to file the appeal. And that's not because she's that busy. Her business is shut down after all. It's because she can't find them. Okay, right. So she'll find them. But it's that kind of thing where, you just really, you don't think about it until it comes up. And one of the problems is,
so I just want to say, Charles asks about how do you define bad metrics? You actually get an email, I want to say monthly or maybe it's weekly, from Amazon, and it goes over your metrics and tells you how you are. But they'll even tell you if you're not doing well. I had my metrics went down in December because I had merchant fulfilled some stuff and I had not put in the tracking number. Now I got the order, I sent it right away, the customer received it in a timely manner, but because I mailed it myself, like from the post office, I just never got the tracking number and they never input it into Amazon, and I didn't realize how big a deal that was.
Right.
And then I got a warning from Amazon about that my metrics for, and I hardly do any merchant fulfilled, so those few things like made a bigger difference because it was a bigger percentage of my merchant fulfilled sales. And so I wrote to them and I said, I'm really sorry, it'll never happen again. And they said, I said, you know, I'll make sure I always buy. I mean, this was my thing. If I ever do merchant fulfilled now for anything, I always just buy this shipping from Amazon. And then I know for sure that they have the tracking information. Even if it costs me a couple bucks more, I don't care. So
that's very true, because I'll tell you that's a huge issue in the UK, because in the UK they don't do that very often. Like I've been told more than once, you know, we don't do tracking with the Royal Mail. And I'm like, look, the Queen isn't out delivering herself. And the problem is the mail is not getting to people, right? And but apparently it costs a lot more. And I was like, well, how much is a lot? But I love that when they say, you know, nobody does that. I said, well, Amazon does that. You know, and if you're going to merchant fulfill and you don't do tracking, you're just shooting yourself in the foot over and over and over again. And I finally convinced them to do tracking. But it was like, nobody does this. I'm like, Amazon does this, and you're selling on their platform.
Yeah.
And so things like that can get you in trouble. And like I said, that was really almost a cultural thing, because I heard that from several sellers. Oh, no, you don't do tracking. I'm like, is the Queen that good? You know,
yeah, the Queen's perfect. She never makes a mistake with a package.
Right.
Comes to you waving her hand, delivering each package personally on time.
All right. Can I tell my funny story? Can I tell my funny story about that? So this one client that I had, there was one, she had a particularly angry customer who swore that it wasn't being delivered, even though they'd sent it multiple times, and they even called the mail carrier, which I guess you can do in the UK.
Yes.
Hello,
Eugene.
So, yes. And he swore he had delivered it. Okay, so I said to him, well, you know, maybe you should write the customer a letter. And here's how I suggested she start it. By the way, she did not send this letter. I said, you know, dear Mr. So-and-so, I'm so sorry to hear that your penis is still small. Because the product was a male enhancement product, which, you know, if he was lying, he now had like 3 or 4 big bottles of. And it's like, dear sir, I'm so sorry that your penis is still small. We will do everything in our power to help you. So anyway, they wouldn't send it. But I was like,
the Queen herself will come and take care of your penis.
Yes. But again, I said, that's an issue that tracking would have taken care of. And, you know, and Amazon, you know, basically felt that it was my client's problem. And it was one of many of the same kind of issue. And so, yeah, that's why they were suspended.
Okay. So somebody asked a little while ago, can you tell us a little bit about how many people you've kind of helped through this process?
Oh, sure. I'm happy with the term dozens, plural.
Okay.
I don't want to be exact. Yeah, no.
Dozens.
Dozens.
It's I mean, I know, you know, every time I talk to you, you're like, oh, I had to get help, and we have more people who are calling. So, and we've certainly had people in our group that have been suspended lately. So, it's interesting to hear from you about how you think whatever the shift that happened last fall, the new Amazon robots that they invented have sort of caused this triage effect of more people getting suspended.
Yeah, and I don't really see that changing very much. And so that's why, you know, I really think people need to, you know, take a proactive stance, because selling on Amazon today is different than it was last summer. It is. And so people are getting suspended for things now that they were never in trouble for before. I mean, most of them. I've had some really bad cases, but most people are really getting suspended for kind of little stuff, you
Okay.
know, fixable stuff. Um, and oh, Karen, that's an interesting question. Karen asks, do you think that there are some who are trying to leap forward into business models without learning the basic rules first? Yes, I do. And I think that's part of it, is that they don't really know what they're doing. Maybe they bought a program or something and they're just kind of jumping into it. I think some of them are coming to Amazon from eBay, and they have an eBay mentality, like I said, and so they don't think like Amazon. You know, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but they don't think about it. Like, you know, one client who got suspended because she sold collectible games, and she would replace some of the pieces, but they weren't being replaced with the original parts. They were just being replaced. And so people were getting the games, and they're like, what? And, you know, and she's like, oh, you can't do that? I'm like, no. You know, everything has to be complete, even if it's, you know, used or collectible. It has to have all the pieces, and they have to be the right pieces, you know. And so there were things like that. And you know, Karen says, I think it would be good if Amazon did more webinars with rules for new sellers. Yes, but you know, that's exactly what the whole gating process is about. They want people to learn how to do it right, and so they gated all these categories, and that is part of why they're coming down on gating service providers now, because what's happening is the sellers are not learning how to do things right in that category. They're not learning how to make their own flat files or whatever, and so it's, you know, it's like, okay, they're missing the point. Now, I know with some of them it's just a picture or something really simple, but there's actually stuff they expect you to read every time you try to get into a new category, and I know there's people who don't read it.
Yeah.
They don't read, you know, the stuff. And I'll tell you, if I was, when I did jewelry, it was freaking complicated. That took me a long time to figure that out, because it was just, you know, I have never sold jewelry before, ever. And so a lot of the terminology, the things that they're talking about, not my wheelhouse. And so, yeah, I think you have to know the rules. So actually, I was going to mention, you know, I created a report.
Oh, right.
Yeah, Jay just put it up there. Anyway, for those who were participating tonight, you can go out there, sign up, and it's a free report, and it covers the 10 things that I think you can do to stay out of trouble. It has some of my blog posts, and it also has all of Amazon's. It has the contract that you signed with Amazon, and it has a lot of their policies and restrictions.
Oh, great.
So you can just print that sucker out, because I bet you it's been a while since you've read them, if you're like most people. And so it's good to get, you know, reminded, and to occasionally go out to Seller Central and look up stuff like that, because they do tell you what they want. They just hide it, and you have to go look for it. You have to know it's there. You have to be, you know, that kind of thing. Oh, no, not if you're going to put it on YouTube, Jay.
The free report is only for people tuned in live. So those watching on YouTube later, I'm sorry, it's not available for free. We are going to have Cynthia's writing a book about this topic, which will be out tomorrow. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Sometime soon.
Actually, I'm aiming for September. I'm hoping it'll be done by CES.
Right.
That's my goal, and that I'm hoping that, you know, again, the book will help people. It'll go into a lot of detail, kind of on the different ways that you get suspended, how you can address them, and what it means. I mean, I almost feel like it's an interpretive guide, because everything they send you is a form letter, pretty much. And so you look at it, you're like, what does this mean? And they'll tell you in the form letter, if you want to know what this means, you know, go look at your inventory and figure it out. That is what they say. So anyway.
Is there a problem with the link, everybody? A couple of people are saying the link. I think maybe that Jay posted the wrong link.
That is the wrong link now that I look
Yes.
at it.
Here, you emailed me the link before. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, because I can post it too.
Okay, we're just going to get the correct link. Sorry about that. That is the wrong link. Karen Holmes was ready to give you $250.
Oh my gosh. I shouldn't have said anything.
Yeah, there you go.
Let's see.
You just sent me, I signed up for it earlier, and because you emailed me the thing, and now I can't find the email.
I did it on Facebook. That's why.
Oh, okay.
It was like a Facebook IM.
There's so many different ways to be communicated with now that it's a little bit hard for me to keep up with.
Okay, wait,
like
I got
I
it.
texted and who I Facebooked.
All right,
okay, so you have the link. You're posting it. The multi-pack grocery listings. What was the question about that, Mark? Is there a problem with, you're not supposed to do multi-pack listings in grocery anymore, right? Do people get busted on that? I don't understand the question, Mark. I'm sorry, I missed it in the chat. So if you could retype the whole question, that would be great.
Sorry.
Sorry about that. That's one thing about Zoom, is it doesn't have like a separate area for questions. Cynthia is in Scanner Monkey, and she's also has her own blog, which is online sales, stepbystep.com. And we have a discount on her products if you are a Scanner Monkey. So if you have somebody who's new to the business or who wants to take one of her seminars, you just go to their exclusive discounts page to get that discount. Okay, so we have the correct link now. I don't know what the multi-pack question is. There are a lot of multi-pack listings in grocery, and want to know if there is a way to protect ourselves on those. Should we get permission from Amazon before piggybacking onto an existing multi-pack listing?
Well, I'm trying to think if I'm understanding this question properly, because I don't have any problems with multi-packs. I sell multi-packs all the time. But it's multi-packs that were already there. I think what happened was when they changed the rules, there were certain products and things like that that you could no longer create listings for. Only the manufacturer could create those multi-packs. But once something is up there, you're allowed to sell. So I don't think there's anything that you have to worry about, because they took down the listings that were a problem. Yes, so the existing multi-packs in grocery are okay. And actually, I'm going to have to say, if they wanted to create a new multi-pack, yes, I would say get permission from Amazon, because it may or may not be a brand that you can do that with. For example, I represent a grocery item. I'm the exclusive seller. I can create listings for that all day long. Okay, I can do multi-packs, I can do bundles, I can do all kinds of things with it. But no one else can, because I've registered that brand, and I'm the only one who can create listings, and I'm the only one who can edit the listings. So, so what you would do is, if you were concerned, if you said, "Oh, I want to sell a 3-pack of this thing," and there is no 3-pack up there, you could ask. I would ask Amazon and, see what they said, if that was a protected brand or not.
Okay. All right. Are there any more questions? So your book's going to be out in September.
Hopefully. Oh, that's a good question. Jay just asked a good question. Yeah, Jay, that's a good question. I have written Jeff Bezos a couple of times, and it worked. And so I will tell you, it takes him about 10 days to get back to you, if he gets back to you. He doesn't always get back to you. And it's not him, of course. It's his, the people who read his mail. But sometimes it's been great. I've gotten clients reinstated, and that was our last resort. Other times, we were just shot, so it didn't work. So what I tell people is that, okay, folks, I'm just writing this book, I don't have the time.
She's in the middle of writing the book. It is not done yet. Now, her original book that she did, the one that we have the discount on, is called
Make Thousands on Amazon in 10 hours a week.
Make thousands on Amazon in 10 hours a week. Make thousands. Okay.
Okay.
But that is a beginner's book. That is a book for people who are learning how to get their first few shipments in. And it's sort of like a good thing to read, sort of like next to retail arbitrage, like right at the beginning of the process. So certainly a lot of the people like in Scanner Monkey who are kind of already more experienced sellers are going to find it primarily review material.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, Jay, I like your new book. No, it's going to be something. It'll be something like, get clean, stay clean. I mean, that's the premise of the book, is to help people, make sure their accounts are clean and they stay clean.
I think that I'm learning that so many people who do online sales, I mean, they come from all different backgrounds. So you have people who were, business owners before, who were, Toys R Us employees before. Like it kind of runs the gamut. And so really breaking down, I mean, like we were chatting before the show, I got invited to become an Amazon vendor today. And I consider myself a pretty smart person. I went to college. I can read stuff, and I have no idea what that means. Like, I read that invitation, and I still have no clue what it means. So, like, sometimes you just need somebody who, and Cynthia has this background as a business consultant. So, in addition to, like, being an Amazon person, she has a lot of business experience. And so, even if you don't go through Cynthia, if you're going to get help from somebody, I would say make sure you get help from somebody who has like a really solid business background, who, like you said, can read your things and kind of be objective from a business perspective. So Jay wants to know what your success rate is on getting sellers reinstated.
Okay, so the last time I did the numbers, which was a couple of days ago, is 88%. So which is, I don't know if that's good or bad, but I think it's pretty good. There are some people who I'm not going to be able to help, and that's why I do the assessment first. People are like, why do you do this assessment and then the fee? And it's because the assessment is where I'm going to really try to decide if I think I can help them. And because if I can't, I'm not going to take their money. I mean, they have problems enough. They don't need to give me money they don't have. But a lot of times I think that I can. And so I, of course, try. And so my frustration, and why I'm not happy with 88%, is because I want to succeed for all of them. And so I feel very disappointed when it doesn't work. But I will also say, for the record, that I've taken on some really tough challenges. I had one client who seems to have violated every policy that Amazon has, plus some metric issues. I mean, that appeal was like 5 pages long, single spaced. I have never written such a long appeal. I'm kind of a less is more kind of girl, but with that case, I mean, I've never seen anything like it. And so, sometimes you just can't bring them back. It's just like
Dead Jim.
Oh, I'm sorry. But and in their case, I told them I probably wouldn't succeed, but they wanted to try anyway. But with some of the others that didn't succeed, I have no idea why they didn't. They should have. There were several where I'm like, I don't get it. Amazon just reinstated this guy over here who I think committed more atrocities or whatever in their world, and not this guy over here who, and so I haven't figured out the rhyme or reason. I do like, to me, it helps to think about the robots, because it takes the personal aspect out of it. And that is the problem, I think, with what Amazon is doing, is when you get to the point where you've triggered the robots, you're put into a very impersonal process. They don't want to talk to you. They're not going to give you a way to talk to them. You can't call them. They won't call you. Well, hardly ever. One guy got called, but they don't usually call you. I mean, it's as if they went from being your best friend, Amazon, to your worst enemy overnight. Like, they don't like you anymore. You're out. So,
do you want to tell us your fees?
Okay.
I don't know if you want that on the YouTube video or not. It's up to you.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell it, but I'll also mention that my fees have been going up steadily, so I reserve the right to
To
change,
charge more.
to charge more. But the assessment is $250, and that probably won't change because that's really, like I said, that's for me or whoever's. I have other people that work with me sometimes, but that's for us to really examine your case and to really look where are the problems, what did you not see, and usually we find something, and then the rest of the fee. So currently, I tell people it's between 1,000 and 1,250. Is typical. It gets to be how complicated it is, how long it takes.
The 5-pager probably was more than that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But there was more to work on because the thing is, it's not just like writing an appeal. It's not like, okay, here's a piece of paper and, I'm done. $1,000, please. It's like I said, I really have to get into their business and figure out what's going wrong and help them get back on track. So every client that I have that tells me they didn't do anything wrong, I'm like, well, you must have. You triggered the robots. I mean, you have to accept that in Amazon's world you did, and then take it from there. Because I think most people would rather be selling than to be right. But that's not always true. I've had clients who insisted they had to be right, and I'm like, this isn't going to work. Amazon isn't going to see it your way. They're not going to say, "Oh,
Mandy wants to pay you $20 a month to maintain his account and make sure he never gets suspended."
Oh, that's funny.
Dream on, Mandy.
No. Dream on that I would do it for that price, but actually that's not a bad idea because I've been looking into that, and I'm hoping that I can get something organized. I've already started doing it for some of my clients that I got reinstated, kind of a stay out of trouble set of services, and I get them kind of set up with a system. So if I ever get around to organizing that, yes, you'll hear about it, but it won't be $20 a month.
No.
No.
You can't hardly get anything for $20 a month except for one thing that I can think of that's really good.
Yeah.
Scanner Monkey. Scanner Monkey is $20 a month. That was a perfect lead-in.
I missed it because I was looking at what Bob was saying. He's working with 5 accounts right now himself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, that's what I'm saying. We're getting, 4 or 5 a week. I mean, it's crazy. So, yes, it's not a shameless plug. It is a well-planned plug. You should be proud of her, Jay.
So we are actually getting to the 1.5 hour point, so we do need to wrap up. Are there any final thoughts, Cynthia?
I guess the final thought would just be, if you see something, if they send you something, just think of it as being the tip of the iceberg and take that opportunity to really look through everything. That will probably save you a lot of grief down the road and better record keeping.
There you go. All right. Thank you. For those of you who are watching this who are not members, please join Scanner Monkey. We're an awesome group. We do weekly webinars. We have an amazing Facebook group. We help each other. We're nice to each other. And that's what we do. There's way more to it than that. You can find out at scannermonkey.com. You can ask people who are members what they get out of it. They're usually our best advertising. Next week's show, we have Sarah and Mindy, who are going to come on and talk to us about their business. They're in the audience tonight. And so we can't wait to hear about their really skyrocketed business. And that's it. We will see everybody on the flip side. Thank you so much for coming on, Cynthia.
You're welcome. So I love being a monkey.
Yay!